Primarchs are genetically engineered superhuman beings created by the Emperor of Mankind. Each Primarch essentially is a demigod. Each possesses incredible physical and intellectual abilities, making them among the most formidable beings in the grimdark. They can lift tanks and even titans on occasions. They move with blinding speed, some even have psychic abilities that only the Eldar and Malcador the Sigillite can match. But even with all this, they are not invulnerable. They can still be defeated. The astartes, on the other hand, are genetically modified superhuman soldiers created from the gene seed of the Primarchs. While they are not as powerful as the Primarchs themselves, Space Marines are still formidable warriors with a range of enhanced abilities. Essentially, they are heavily powered down versions of the Primarchs, but they are produced en masse to be the ultimate soldiers of the Imperium. So with that in mind, there are still certain occasions that Space Marines have handed the Primarchs their asses in a china bowl. Of course, some with help, and others by sheer luck and knowing a psychic passcode. So here are 5 times the Space Marines defeated their superior stock. Number 1. Caldor Drago banishes Mortarion. So Caldor Drago, the supreme Grand Master of the Grey Knights, is an unparalleled warrior. From his early days as a battle brother, he banished the demon prince Mikar, the Reborn, back to the warp. Since then, Drago has ascended through the ranks to lead the secretive Grey Knights as their Grand Master. However, one of his encounters left him cursed to reside within the chaotic warp, where he must now constantly resist the temptations and assaults of chaos. On the other hand, Mortarion is the greatest demon prince of Nurgle, and a demon Primarch of the Death God Chaos Marines. He has defeated even Guilliman, the Primarch of the Ultramarines. He recently returned to Imperial space for the first time in 10,000 years when he led the forces of the Plague God in the invasion of the realm of Ultramar during the Plague Wars. Mortarion is an imposing figure, his gaunt face and rheumy eyes barely visible beneath his cowl and behind his rebreather mask. He has torn diseased wings and carries an aura of sickness wherever he goes. In the Battle of Cornavin, a clash between the Death God led by Demon Prince Mortarion and the Grey Knights under Supreme Grand Master Geronitan chose to confront Mortarion after he had ravaged several sectors, and during the battle, Geronitan was slain. The Grey Knights retreated to their final stronghold on the planet as the demon horde advanced. In a psychic conclave, Caldor Drago was chosen as the Supreme Grand Master and was given knowledge of Mortarion's true name. Drago engaged Mortarion, overpowering his Death Shroud bodyguards and engaging the Primarch himself while wielding the Titan Sword, a magnificent nemesis blade. Though initially outmatched, Drago used a final psychic attack to weaken Mortarion's defenses and spoke his true name, shattering Mortarion's body and sending his spirit to the Imperium, but not before inscribing Geronitan's name on Mortarion's chest that would never be removed by any means. A badass move that is now traumatizing Mortarion wherever he goes. Number 2. Logan Grimnar against Magnus. Logan is the chapter master of the Space Wolves chapter. He has held his esteemed position for over 8 centuries, 800 years, making him one of the longest serving Space Marines. Clad in his iconic suit of Artificer Terminator armor, Grimnar embodies the ferocity and honor of the Space Wolves. His combat prowess is exceptional, having honed his skills over countless battles against the Imperium's enemies. He wields a formidable weapon called the Axe of Morkai, a relic of his chapter. His strategic brilliance and tactical acumen have guided the chapter to numerous victories. Magnus the Red, on the other hand, is the Primarch of the Thousand Suns Traitor Legion and a powerful demon prince of Tzeentch. Initially, Magnus possessed immense psychic abilities and sought to understand the warp. However, his reckless use of powers led to his fall from grace and corruption and damnation to Tzeentch. He now holds a grudge against the Space Wolves for their destruction of Prospero under the attack led by Leman Russ 10,000 years ago. Their battle occurred in the siege of the Fenris system, which was a major chaos and later inter-imperial conflict during the final days of the 41st millennium. As Grimnar's fleet arrived in the Fenris system, they found it besieged by the ruinous powers. Every world and planet in the system save for Fenris was under assault. On Midgardia, the planet had become a poisonous greenhouse dedicated to Nurgle. At the same time, the Crimson King had watched the current chaos and saw an opportunity to exact revenge for the burning of Prospero 10,000 years earlier. Due to Magnus's actions, Grimnar had to order an exterminatus on Midgardia, so Logan was rightfully searching him for revenge. An orbital bombardment was ordered on Magnus in the surface, but not even that was able to harm the Crimson King. It wasn't until Magnus brought down the battle barge to the planet did a melee battle commence. In the chaos, Logan managed to drive the axe of Morkai into the demon Primarch. The weapon had in fact been forged by Khorne, and his energies were enough to harm the Crimson King, stunning him for long enough to be banished by the Grey Knight's rituals. Number 3. Luther betraying the Lion. Luther was like an adoptive father of the Primarch of the Dark Angels. He wasn't a full-fledged space marine, but was still a powerful member of the Dark Angels Legion. He was really short, the shortest of them all. But he was still the de facto leader in fact, after the Lion himself taking care of Caliban in his absence. So anyway, the Lion on the other hand is the beast among beasts. That's about all I will say about the Lion. So after the Horus Heresy, when Lionel Johnson, the Primarch of the Dark Angels, returned to Caliban, his homeworld, he was surprisingly attacked by Luther, his former friend and second-in-command, along with the Dark Angels that are now known as the Fallen. On the surface, the Lion and Luther engaged in a duel, during which the Lion wounded Luther but couldn't bring himself to kill him. However, Luther, driven by darkness, empowered by the warp, unleashed a sorcerous attack on the Primarch, gravely injuring him. Realizing the extent of his actions, Luther began to regret his actions and wept for what he had done. Luther was heavily empowered by the warp at this time, and his action caused the Lion to be in a death-like state for 10,000 years. Number 4. Iskandar Chaon makes Magnus the Red bend the knee. Iskandar Chaon is a Chaos Marine and a close companion of Abaddon the Despoiler. To the Thousand Sons, he is known as Chaon the Black due to his sins against his bloodline. The Black Legion called him King Breaker, the mage who brought down the demon Primarch Magnus the Red to his knees. As a sorcerer, Chaon wields formidable psychic powers and possesses extensive knowledge of the warp and its workings. He is skilled in the arts of sorcery, manipulation, and deception. Chaon has a deep understanding of the Chaos Gods and their machinations, making him a valuable asset to Abaddon the Despoiler, the leader of the Black Legion. Since both Magnus and Chaon were psychers and sorcerers, Chaon doesn't really have to physically beat Magnus to get him to kneel. He could have outwitted him like Doctor Strange and Dormammu, or place him in a no-win situation. It doesn't even have to be combative. Chaon could have had a prior advantage in knowledge, or anything that Magnus would have to surrender to achieve, hence defeating and making him bend the knee. And number 5. Tarimar Aurelian banishes Angron. Also known as Tarimar the Goal, he was a brother captain commanding the flagship of the Grey Knights chapter. Hailing from the feral world of Porcel, his exceptional combat skills and early achievements marked him as a destined hero. Recruited by the Modificators chapter of Space Marines, Aurelian was later chosen by the Grey Knights to lead against the demon Primarch Angron and his World Eaters during the First War of Armageddon. During the chaos there, the Grey Knights force teleported from space to surround Angron. A 109 force of Grey Knights versus Angron and 12 bloodthirsty demons. The battle, as you would expect, would be a nightmare on both ends. Managing to oust the 12 demons back to the warp, they then later focused on Angron and melee, but almost all of them were eventually killed by the Demon Prince. After one of them, Hyperion, another Grey Knight, managed to break the sword of Angron by telekinesis or something, Aurelian then had the chance to face the Primarch one-on-one, and against all odds, he managed to outlast and banish Angron back to the warp. During the ritual, he was cursed by Angron to be devoured by demons forever, to which he replied, "So be it," and sent the Demon Prince screaming like a bitch back to the warp. And then Aurelian died. So those are the 5 times Space Marines defeated Primarchs. Surprising, right? So I see that many of you haven't subscribed yet. It would do us a huge favor if you would only smash that red button and also like the video to push us through in the YouTube algorithm. And while you're at it, bang on that bell icon as well for notifications. Till the next time, take care, boys.